can you make sure the car you want will outperform all others in its field as it outshines them in beauty, comfort, durability, and economy? Would you ask for the blueprints? Of course not. You'd turn to the car itself. You'd give it the works to make sure it works best. And that is what Ford does here at the Great Performance Track in Dearborn, Michigan, where your Ford is tested against all other makes. No matter what you expect from your Ford, over devilishly contrived torture twists, brick, macadam, washboard roads, dusty gravel, through grinding sand, deep water, and sticky mud, Ford makes sure, matching its fine car performance against every other car in its field of price, power, or weight. And here's your new Ford, now 50 ways finer for 50, performance proved from stem to stern. Triumph of appearance, of comfort, of economy, and a triumph on the track. "50 ways finer. The Ford 450. Again, the car of the year. Unbeatable for beauty, unbeatable for comfort, unbeatable for durability, unbeatable for performance, unbeatable for economy. Yes, unbeatable for economy. Always noted for economical operation, the new Ford with overdrive gives you still greater economy and superior performance. You can feed it less and drive it when your Ford's equipped with overdrive. Ford's overdrive has captured the hearts of Ford owners everywhere with its outstanding performance. More than twice as many overdrives have been built and proved as all other comparable devices put together. Ford gives you a simple, foolproof system of power transmission, which, without effort on your part, adjusts the call on your engine and on your gasoline to the kind of work you want it to do. When you are rolling along at an easy clip, your engine can sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride along with you, taking its gas in sips instead of gulps. The secret of this amazing operating economy is a simple one. When your Ford goes 50, your engine purrs along at only 35. Ford has always been famous for its economy. But see what the still greater economy of overdrive means in terms of gasoline alone. Here are two cars, one with, one without overdrive, about to take the same trip under the same conditions. Almost from the moment they start, the fuel-saving ability of the car with overdrive becomes apparent. The rate of saving is 15% or better. The longer the trip, the greater the likelihood of even more economy. At least a gallon every 100 miles of ordinary driving, 2 gallons or more on long, steady runs. That's what overdrive does, and only Ford in its field offers overdrive and all that goes with it. Think what it would mean to you to save more than a gallon of gasoline every 100 miles. It's like buying $1 worth of gas for only 85 cents. Yes, Ford's overdrive is good to your engine and good to your pocketbook, whether you drive the powerful 6 or the even more powerful 8. And here's something even more impressive. Along with the economy of Ford's overdrive, you actually increased acceleration when you call for it, still greater than the zooming thrust which made Ford famous among all cars. Because Fords with overdrive have special ratio differentials, which actually increase the concentration of power delivered directly to the wheels without slippage for faster starting, harder pulling, and automatic instant surges of acceleration at any speed. But let's take a spin. When the controls are pulled out like this, your car is in conventional gear. But for the thrill of effortless cruising, all it takes is a simple push of the conveniently located control to overdrive position. A touch of Ford's easy-to-reach starter button, and we're ready to go. An easy flick into second and to third. For 95% of your driving, you'll not touch the lever again. Then, at any speed over 27 miles per hour, ease up on the gas, and presto, the overdrive takes over and your engine takes a rest. Uses 15% less gas, enjoys 30% less wear. You and your engine sit back and relax together for the smoothest ride you can imagine in the one fine car in its field. Now, suppose you need great acceleration, but fast. Tramp on it. A switch under the accelerator instantly puts your car into powerful, direct gear. And when the need for acceleration is past, just ease back on the gas. Overdrive takes over again. When you drive with overdrive, you drive with ease, with comfort, with assurance, with economy. For mile after mile, you economize with overdrive.
This is Anytown, USA. It's just an ordinary, wonderful town, anywhere in any of 48 states. Here are some folks you know. John Citizen and his wife. They may live next door or on the other side of the country. But anyway, they are your neighbors. They work with you and for you. You do the same for them. This is a great day for John and his wife. They are about to make an important purchase, one of the most important purchases they will make during their lives. They are buying a new automobile. John knows it's going to mean a lot to him, to his wife and the kids. He knows it is going to put wings on their feet and make living a whole lot better for all of them. But like a lot of us, when we make an important purchase, like a car or a refrigerator or a radio, John thinks his money goes back to a big company and stays there. But it doesn't work that way. John, you may not realize it, but you're buying more than a new car for yourself and your family. You're buying a lot of other things for a lot of other people. You're buying things like a new vacuum cleaner for a housewife in Hibbing, Minnesota. You're buying a new pair of shoes for a little boy in Alabama, a youngster you'll never know. You're buying groceries for some family in Oregon or Maine or North Carolina. John, I know you're wondering how this can be, but let me tell you that the stroke of your pen is going to set off a far-reaching chain reaction. This is how it works. Months ago, back at the Ford Motor Company in Dearborn, Michigan, they were pretty sure you'd come in today and buy your new car, so they planned on it. They had to, or you wouldn't be taking delivery now. Some of the dollars you pay for your new car will return to Dearborn, but they won't all stay there. Part of them will clear through Dearborn, and then they'll start fanning out to nearly every corner of the United States. Some of those dollars may come back to the people who live next door. Some of them might even make the complete circuit and return to your own pocket. Those dollars of yours will spread around the country and buy things for people you'll never meet. It's a great thing, John. It's a big part of what makes this nation tick. And this job of spreading your money so far and wide is done by companies, resourceful American industries, working together to serve everyone, everywhere. Take this example, the Ford Motor Company. Ford can do the job simply because they know they're not big enough to build so complex a machine as an automobile without help. And an automobile is a complex machine. A machine that has to depend on thousands of interrelated parts working together smoothly. A machine that must give unfaltering service for years, over tens of thousands of highway miles. You might take it for granted that your Ford car was built and assembled in Dearborn, or the parts sent out to one of 15 branch plants for assembly. But because Ford needs the help of experts in hundreds of specialized lines of manufacture, it buys from other business enterprises a big share of the parts and assemblies that go into the car. Since Ford works closely with them all, with most of them on a year-in, year-out basis, suppliers are really partners. 6,000 partners in all, 6,000 independent business enterprises, from one end of the country to the other. Given the brains, the skill, the designs and facilities, what is it that goes into the making of a car? It comes down to labor and raw materials. Everything that goes into a car involves both. Even our ore, for example, involves the work of the men who get it out of the pit, the men who run the power shovels, the trucks and the locomotives at the iron mines of Minnesota and Michigan. Already you can see how the dollars are spreading out. To Utah and Montana, to the men who dig copper. To the Pacific Northwest, to the men who cut Port Orford cedar for battery separators. To the Middle West, to the farmers who grow corn and soybeans. To Missouri and Idaho, to the miners who dig out the lead for batteries. To Tennessee and Alabama for aluminum. To Kentucky and West Virginia for coal. To the Texas Panhandle for natural gas. To the Western Plains for leather and wool. To Louisiana for soda ash. To Michigan for limestone. To Maine for upholstery fabrics. Yes, the dollars are going out. To the men who operate the machines. To the girls who type invoices and the bills of lading. They are all working and earning money because you are buying a car today, and because Ford long ago planned to produce that car. Some of the materials, take steel for example, have a lot of work involved in them. Value has been added. Steel suppliers have taken the basic materials, coke, limestone, and iron ore, and produced ingots and rolled them into sheets and bars. Dollars go to those who produce processed materials, but the largest percentage of the money ends up in the pay envelopes of the people who do the work. Some of the money with which you bought your new car is in those pay envelopes. Planning ahead for more new cars that will appear on the showroom floor months from now, buyers already are placing orders for finished parts, assemblies, and sub-assemblies. They deal with suppliers that are specialists in their field for parts like tires. Wherever a car goes, it goes on its tires. That's why tire making should be the concern of people who are tire experts. Spark plugs bring the motor to life. For spark plugs, they go to manufacturers who have devoted themselves to spark plug building for years. The same applies to many other things purchased from suppliers. Batteries, speedometers, bumpers, seat springs, decorative hardware, grill parts, and things like roller bearings, heat control valves, automatic transmission assemblies, all the hundreds of other purchased items. And it doesn't stop with the parts that are to be assembled into the automobile. They have to be concerned with machine tools and office supplies, with items like crankshaft oil hole drilling machines that require 8 or 10 months to build, presses for stamping body parts from cold steel, gang drills for motor block castings, some of the money that paid for your car went to the makers of each one of them. Would you like to see where some of your dollars go, John? Some of the people you hired to help build your car? They are the same people who possibly hired you in turn to help make their washing machines or their fountain pens, or raise a hog for them to furnish their breakfast bacon. They are a cross-section of American industry. They are the face of America. Meet the people of the Oakland Machine Works of Royal Oak, Michigan. This is what you call small business. 30 or 40 people work here, machining castings for things like water pump pulleys. There's one of these pulleys in your new car. The dollars that come in the pay envelopes here circulate around Royal Oak and buy things from everywhere. Now, here's another supplier, the Paris, Tennessee branch of the Holly Carburetor Company. There was practically no industry in Paris at all until this plant was built. Now 180 Paris people are making carburetors, and together they earn $30,000 a month. Some of it moves on through the cash register of the local grocery, the dry goods stores, the hardwares, and the dime stores of Paris. Paris, Tennessee. You'll find that a lot of these suppliers are small shops. Let's pick a few of them at random. The Lynette Bleaching and Dye Works of Lynette, Alabama. The people here work on headlinings for the Modine Manufacturing Company of Whittier, California, where they turn out truck and passenger car radiators. Now, why does a company in Dearborn, Michigan buy radiators away out in California? It makes good sense, because Whittier is closer to West Coast assembly plants, and most companies like to buy materials and parts in the communities where they sell their products. For the same reason, wheels are bought from the Norris Stamping and Manufacturing Company of Los Angeles. Wheels made from blueprints and specifications, the standardized quality requirements. The battery picture will give you an idea. 4 separate companies make batteries for Ford in 16 different cities, pretty well spread over the map, from Edgewater, New York to San Francisco, California. They are close to assembly plants and close to all distribution centers, so that a constant flow of fresh batteries can be supplied to dealers as service parts. So it goes. Large companies, medium-sized firms, small shops all over the country. From great name industries with branches of their own to hometown industries, 6,000 strong. All functioning to keep parts and materials flowing to meet the months ahead schedule of the production program. In an endless stream of traffic, the thousands of parts arrive at their destination on time. No one company is big enough to be self-sufficient. It is only to be of service to everyone, so long as the vital flow of parts and materials continues on schedule. When anything happens to stop the flow from any one of the 6,000 partners, it can disrupt the rhythm, the order of this great production cycle. And you might not be able to take delivery of your new car on the appointed day. And that's not all. When this system is disrupted over a period of time and they stop making cars, the partnership weakens. Thousands of working men and women find their lives thrown out of adjustment. Many of the 6,000 partners have to curtail their operations, and some even have to close their doors. The effect on American economy is felt in empty drawers of cash registers in corner groceries and dry goods stores all over the land. Many suppliers with simple, small-scale operations perform with the skill and knowledge of their people. They hold tolerances, the quality standard set up for each and every part that is to be incorporated into the automobile. Larger, more detailed operations maintain engineering and research laboratories of their own to pave the way for new improvement, to make their product, and therefore the whole product, better. There are thousands of examples of this, but look at just a few. Engineers in one of the supplier companies developed a new and better system of zigzag for seats. They brought it to Ford engineers, who gave it a tough time in the testing laboratory, touched it up with a few improvements, covered it with a cushion of sponge rubber. They pronounced it a better seat, a more comfortable ride, at no increase in price over the older coil-type springs. Another company developed a new, simpler, better-performing manifold heat control valve at no increased manufacturing cost. Automotive engineers can't think of everything. 6,000 alert specialist partners can devise and develop improvements in their own fields simply because they concentrate on a few parts and don't have the function of a whole car to divert their attention. The car buyers' dollars spreading out over the country are paying for scientific research ingenuity and a constantly improved product. The Ford Purchasing Office, the company contact for 6,000 partners, is responsible for the cost and price of all items. The men in this office deal with suppliers directly. They form the connecting link between the dollars you paid for your new car and people all the way from spark plug ceramic workers to farmers who till the soil and grow things like cotton for car headlinings and upholstery. In the finest sense, this purchasing office is the connection between your car buying dollars and people like the grocer in Paris, Tennessee, and the clerk in Whittier, California. Through this purchasing office, Ford becomes the worldwide distributor for products made by people in great manufacturing centers and obscure small towns, products that none of them might otherwise be producing. Through all the models of cars on dealers' floors, Ford becomes the distributor of 18 million yards of textiles. That is 3,400 miles of every year, cloth produced by people from Maine to Alabama. It is the distributor for over 23 types of petroleum products, from fuel oil to aromatic solvents. Over 8,200 machine parts and stampings, from axles to washers. 30-odd kinds of accessories, from road lamps to body wax. And many more products, not only assembled into automobiles, but stacked as service parts on dealers' shelves. But the company doesn't just sit and wait for suppliers to deliver based on time, quantity, and destination requirements of production control. Buyers from Dearborn constantly visit the suppliers to see how they are getting along. If you are a supplier or one of the 6,000 partners, you are certain to run up against problems. You might, for instance, need help to speed the tooling up operation of a job. Tooling can run from thousands to millions of dollars. Ford buyer and Ford supplier working together can usually arrange for the tools to do the job. Working together, this buyer-supplier team can usually solve material shortage problems in critical times. To maintain quality standards, they often cooperate to train men in the techniques of quality control. Besides all this, there is a constant two-way flow of information that leads to improvements in the car you buy, the performance record that influenced you to buy it. Research and engineering information, cost control information, manufacturing information, dry-looking figures and statistics on paper, but something which makes sense to anyone when translated into terms of better cars, better transportation for people everywhere. All of this this is evidence that no one company is big enough to do everything involved in the production of so complex can form a focal point for the materials and work when transformed into a great product, clears car buyers' dollars and fans them back to the far-flung communities of the nation. Yes, this business of supplying parts and assemblies works in and weaves itself through the nation's entire industrial picture. It is a chain of dependency. An assembly plant receives an automatic transmission from Borg-Warner. Borg-Warner bought the brake band assembly of the automatic transmission from Bendix. Bendix purchased the special brake lining for the brake band assembly from Ray Bestis Manhattan. This copper and other materials from several mining and processing sources. This trail back to the mines is blazed by the car purchasers' dollars. Yes, you're buying more than a new car and the materials and work that went into it. Listen, even now you can hear the far-off bell of a cash. That housewife in Hibbing, Minnesota has some of your dollars already. Listen, there is activity in the stores in places like Rahway, New Jersey, because of you. This bank has just opened for business in Oakland, California. A few of those dollars are going into someone's savings account. The chain reaction you set off is working around the nation through a business resourceful enough to be a customer of 6,000 other businesses, the better to serve its own customers everywhere.
Parking a car in a small space is a maneuver that calls for real skill at the wheel. But a look along the crowded curbs of our cities and towns may convince us that it takes more skill just to find a space. There are two types of street parking permitted in most cities today: parallel parking along the curb, and in some areas, diagonal parking with the car headed in toward the curb. Parking parallel to the curb is easy if you can find a long space free of cars. Swing the front wheels to your right as you drive slowly in and stop, with the wheels no further than 5 or 6 inches from the curb. However, the congested parking areas along most streets make it more and more difficult to find a space large enough to drive into. More often, you'll find the only way to park parallel to the curb is to back into a space about 6 feet longer than the car itself. Almost anyone can do it, even this driver, if she works at it long enough. But knowing the right way can save your time as well as your While she struggles back and forth, let's see how skilled drivers back into a parking space. Looks easy when it's done the right way. Just 3 turns of the wheel and the car is parked. Now let's take a step-by-step look at this parking maneuver. When you find a space, drive past it and stop beside and parallel to the car ahead, with the steering wheel of your car directly opposite the steering wheel of the parked car, and with a distance of about 2 feet between the 2 cars. Now shift into reverse and look in the mirror and out the side window to make sure no traffic is coming. Then back up slowly, turning the steering wheel sharply as will go to your right. As you back, look through the left rear window, and when you see the left headlight of the car behind, turn the steering wheel quickly to your left. Now continue backing until the car has reached a position parallel to the curb. Then go forward a foot or so to straighten out the front wheels. And remember to set the handbrake and put the gears in neutral after you've stopped. And get out, not on the driver's side with the risk of being hit by other cars, but on the curb side of the car. Now let's take another look at the same parking maneuver. Signal your intention to stop and line your car up parallel with the car ahead and about 2 feet away from it. Check to make sure the road behind is clear and back up very slowly, turning the wheel as far as it will go to your right. Now here's the key to skillful parking. Continue backing until you can see the left headlight of the car behind through your left rear window. Now turn the steering wheel sharply to your left as you continue to back. When you're parallel to the curb, go forward a foot or two and straighten out the wheels. That's all there is to it. Backing into a parallel parking space calls for a good sense of judgment and distance perception. And it also takes a lot of practice before you can do it with a minimum of backing and to pull out of a space like this, turn the wheel sharply to your right as you back up until you're almost touching the car behind. Now signal and check the traffic to make sure no cars are coming. Drive ahead slowly, turning the wheel sharply to your left, and pull out of the space. Now let's go over this maneuver again. Back up slowly, turning the steering wheel to your right until your car is almost touching the car behind. Signal your intention and move forward, turning the steering wheel to your left. Pull slowly out of the parking space and drive into the right lane. Diagonal parking is not as complicated as parking parallel to the curb. Slow down and signal to approach the parking space. Turn slowly to the right, leaving enough room to clear the car parked on the right. Now straighten out your wheels and stop. Then let the car roll gently against the curb and set the handbrake. To back out of a diagonal parking space, first check the traffic. Then start backing slowly. And when the steering wheel of your car is parallel to the rear wheel of the car on your left, turn the front wheel sharply to the right. Check the traffic again as you enter the right lane on the street. Sometimes you may find it necessary to park the car on a hill. If it's a downhill grade, with or without a curb, turn the wheels to your right at a sharp angle and let the car roll gently against the curb. Then set your handbrake and put the car in reverse gear so it won't roll downhill. And on an uphill grade with a curb, turn the wheels to your left and ease the car back against the curb. When you park on a hill without a curb, turn the wheels sharply to your right. This will cut the car off the road in case it should start to roll. As you drive along city streets searching for a place to park, look carefully at the signs along the curb to make sure that you're not stopping in a no parking zone. These zones are usually marked with signs. And when you do find a space, check the signs to make sure that parking is permitted for as long a time as you need. And remember that parking is not permitted near fire hydrants, in front of driveways, or at crosswalks. Learning how to park a car easily and efficiently takes a lot of practice, but it's one of the fundamentals of driving, a technique that calls for real skill at the wheel.
Meet Clay Hallickson, one of the test drivers at Ford's Road Testing Center in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, maybe you think that test driving is full of chills and thrills. Well, the truth of the matter is, the driving Clay does is not so very different from the driving you and I do in our Fords. For this scientific testing, designed to prove and improve Ford economy under conditions we're likely to meet. This measuring tube, for example, helps to prove that Ford's automatic mileage maker actually enables you to travel farther on every gallon, at every speed, and over every kind of road. But the men who road test the new Ford aren't the only ones who help build Ford economy. Here's Fred Dirchman, one of thousands of Ford's laboratory technicians. Fred works in the dynamometer building where engines exactly like the V8 or 6-cylinder engine in your Ford are constantly checked for economy. Engines like this, for example, are tested at full throttle for as long as 200 hours. And the figures on Fred's fuel consumption chart add up to important gas savings for you. Savings that are checked and rechecked here on Ford's Dearborn test track, where Fords are driven hard right around the clock by experts like Roy Bannister. The tests that Roy makes furnish further proof of a fact every Ford owner knows. Ford is a real economy car. So when your Ford dealer shows you the many money-saving features on the new Ford, he's speaking for thousands of Ford men who have proved that this fine car has economy built in.
Treat those Fords rough, don't they? The kind of testing they get here at Ford's Dearborn Test Track is one good reason why you can be sure your Ford will last. Ford's test drivers make sure, and they're a lot harder to satisfy than you or I. Chances are you'd never ask your car to do this, for example, or this. But just see how easily that Ford rides. Now, the main reason for that smooth ride is a new suspension system Ford calls Ride Control, a system that has been tested and proved here in the Ford laboratories. And we mean tested. Every 2/3 of a second, those springs get a jolt equal to the roughest bump or rut your car is ever likely to meet. And they go on taking it for days. And there's even more to the story. Ford tests cars like this on the road, too, under the actual conditions you might face. They make certain road shocks work havoc on your Ford and shorten its life. This three-way testing, on the road, in the lab, and on the test track, has proved that this 51 Ford is what every wise car buyer really wants and needs. Ford, the car that's built for the years ahead. You can pay more, but you can't buy better. How will your car stand up to the kind of treatment you and your family are going to give it? Well, if you own a 51 Ford, you can be sure it'll take years of punishment like this. Here in the laboratory, the Ford people have proved it. Why, your kids would have to bounce up and down on the seat 1,000,000 times to give Ford's non-sag springs the beating they take in this test. And look at that. This machine the door hard every 2 seconds and goes on slamming it for days. Ford ruggedness is proved here on the Dearborn Test Track, too, where Fords are subjected to the hardest kind of punishment. Here's proof of Ford's superb performance. Why, the steepest hill is easy for a Ford, and going downhill can be tough on a car, too. Here you see how Ford's double-seal king-size brakes perform perfectly under the most severe conditions. Watch this. Only a car with durability built in could stand hour after hour, day after day. Ford stands that and more. Even the roughest surface is leveled out by Ford's automatic ride control. Of course, the real test of any car comes on the road. And Ford has put test cars like this through millions of miles of controlled road driving, in the mountains and on the desert, over every kind of road and at every speed. The Ford people have proved and improved the lasting quality of cars. Quality that has been engineered and built into every part of your Ford, from its mighty 100 horsepower V8 engine or advanced New 6 to its lustrous baked-on enamel finish. Ford says it, and Ford has proved it. You can pay more, but you can't buy better.
A modern automobile is a masterpiece of complex engineering. Whether you're driving a sleek, streamlined convertible or a well-weathered car of ancient vintage, you have control of tremendous power. Power exactingly coordinated to respond to the least pressure on the controls. In fact, the engineering in today's cars is so complex that drivers aren't concerned with why or how a car operates, just as long as it does operate and gets them where they want to go. They just want efficient transportation without having to bother too much about taking care of the car. And yet, each time you drive, you're trusting your life and the lives of those with you to the safe performance of your car. So naturally, it makes sense to take good care of your car, to keep it in tip-top condition. The kind of preventive maintenance that ensures good performance calls for a regular check on these items: gasoline, oil, the battery, the cooling system, lights, tires, lubrication, and brakes. Each of these can be checked and serviced at gas stations and garages specializing in your make of car. However, some of these items require more frequent attention than others. The engine oil, the cooling system, the battery, all tires and lights should be checked whenever you stop for gas. And it's a good idea to have the gas tank filled whenever your fuel gauge drops to the quarter full mark. Plenty of gas and a frequent check of the oil, water, and tires will help prevent a breakdown when you're out on the road. In fact, the of properly circulating oil in the engine bearings can't be stressed too much. Nothing can do more damage to an engine than a drop in oil pressure. Always look at the stick gauge yourself to make sure the oil is clean and up to the proper level. And it's a good idea each time you stop to have the battery checked, to make sure the water in each cell is at the right level. The cooling system should also be checked every time you stop at a gas station. Keep plenty of clean water in the radiator. And don't forget, if you live in a colder climate, that when winter temperatures begin to fall toward the freezing mark, it's time to put a solution of antifreeze in the radiator. This antifreeze should be tested frequently throughout the winter. And in the spring, the radiator drained and flushed before clean water is put in. And don't neglect to have your windshield, headlights, and tail lights cleaned. Dirt on the windshield can often interfere with a clear view of the road ahead. And at night, of course, it's mighty important to have bright, clear headlights so you have maximum visibility. It's a fact that dirt on the lenses can often reduce the amount of light by 1/3. So keep your lights clean. And to be certain they're properly focused, have them inspected and adjusted at regular intervals. And always replace a burned-out light immediately. Comfort and safety in driving depend a great deal upon proper care of the tires. Modern low-pressure tires must carry the correct amount of air at all times to avoid the damage which can result from under or overinflation. The air pressure in your tires should be checked each time you stop for gas. And don't forget the spare tire. You may not need it, but it's best to be prepared. Oil, water, lights, tires, and battery. Have these items checked every time you stop for gas. It may take a few extra minutes, but it's worth it in keeping the car in good operating condition. A car should be lubricated, that is, greased, at least once a month or once every 1,000 miles you drive. You can have the car greased at many gas stations or take it to a service garage that specializes in your make of car. Without doubt, proper lubrication is the one maintenance item most neglected by the average driver. Good lubrication at regular intervals helps prolong car life and provides a quieter, more comfortable ride. Automobile manufacturers make up a complete lubrication chart for each model of car they produce. These charts tell the mechanics the main points that need regular lubrication, as well as other parts of the car that need attention perhaps only once or twice a year. You should look in the owner's manual for information about these special points. For instance, after a certain number of miles, wheels need to be repacked with grease and the fluid in the steering column checked. And there are other items, like the rear axle, that require only periodic inspection and greasing. If you take your car to the same place each time you have it greased, the servicemen will help you keep track of these important points. The dirty oil in the crankcase should be drained at regular intervals and replaced with clean oil of the right weight, light for cold weather or heavy for weather. One of the most important points in good car maintenance is keep plenty of oil in the engine and crankcase. About twice a year, the spark plugs should be cleaned and tested. If the points are not set right or are clogged with oil and carbon, your engine won't be able to give top-notch performance. Remember to take your car to a garage or service station at regular intervals for lubrication and an oil change. Proper attention to these important maintenance items will pay off in better car performance and a smoother, more comfortable ride. And whenever you're riding, you can keep check on the condition of the engine by glancing occasionally at the gauges on the dash panel. Watch particularly for the danger signs of changing oil pressure and a rise in engine temperature. As long as the gauges register normal, the needle pointing near the middle of each dial, the oil is circulating properly in the engine. And check the ammeter once in a while to make sure that the battery is charging as you drive. If the needle should charge, have a mechanic examine the battery and wiring for possible trouble. And pay close attention to the road as you drive. If you drive carefully and take proper care of your tires, they'll be good for many thousands of miles of trouble-free transportation. Try to avoid running over rocks, curbs, or holes in the street. Any sharp bend in the tire casing can break the cords and ruin the tire. And every 5,000 miles, have the tires rotated so that you can make use of the spare and get even more wear on all the tires. After the tires have been rotated, to avoid too much wear on the tires, have the wheel balance and alignment checked to make sure that your wheels are not out of line. Another factor in good car maintenance, and one that can help prolong tire life, is proper care of the brakes. If the brake pedal has to be pushed all the way to the floorboard, or if there's an unequal brake grab, which pulls the car to one side or the other, have the brakes adjusted immediately. Don't wait for the warning signs, however. Be sure your brakes are given regular inspections every few months. To keep your car in good condition, plan an efficient schedule of checkups and inspections. For instance, every time you stop for gas, have the oil, water, battery, and tires checked and all the lights cleaned. At each monthly lubrication job, have the oil changed. And at least twice a year, have the brakes, lights, and spark plugs inspected and the wheel balance and alignment checked. Look in your owner's manual to find out about the other parts that require attention from time to time. And don't neglect the finish on the car. It's more than just a color. The paint protects the metal underneath. Wash your car at least once a week and apply a protective coat of wax occasionally. Any bumps or scratches should be repaired as soon as possible. This kind of preventive maintenance will keep the car in excellent operating condition. It ensures longer and safer car life and also means more economy of operation. And don't forget, the same care you give the maintenance of your car should be exercised in driving it. Drive at safe speeds, obey traffic rules, and share the road with others. Don't be a wise guy on the highway, a show-off who makes quick stops, rapid starts, and fast turns. Drivers like this don't understand that cars are built for safe, efficient transportation, not a joyride to disaster. You'll get thousands of miles of safe, comfortable driving if you remember to take good care of your car. But more important, you're trusting your life and the lives of those with you to the car. Give it a square deal, so give you a safe deal.